The other day I noticed a nail sticking out of one of my floorboards, so I took the lamp off my desk and used the base to bang it back into place. I succeeded after much difficulty, but unsurprisingly, the lamp no longer worked. If a thing is not used for its intended purpose, abuse is inevitable. Most people abuse their own lives because they fail to understand God's purpose for their life. They abuse it with distractions. Anything that you engage in that doesn't serve your intended purpose is a distraction. Marriage, by God's design, is meant to serve a specific purpose beyond the common understanding of man, to have a helpmate and raise a family that produces a legacy. Any two compatible man and woman can do that. Most people lack clear direction, life goals, plans to achieve success. Instead, they drift from one opportunity to the next, looking for the next interesting thing to occupy their time, and only after enough time is wasted do they drift forlornly to the next thing. And then they get married like this. Marriage is exciting, isn't it? At least the wedding is. All the planning, the preparation, the well wishes expressed, the hope and promises it contains. The problem is, despite all of this preparation and promise, we still treat marriage as just another interesting thing to occupy our time until we are dissatisfied, because we don't know its purpose. Question: why did you get married? When a man asks a woman to marry him, before she answers yes or no, what she should ask is why. You see, when we get married, we know who we are marrying. At least we think we do, and many times we are mistaken in that. We know what we want to do after we are married. Many couples are already doing it beforehand. We plan when and where the wedding will take place, but we fail to understand the most important question: why? The truth may upset us. Fear of loss, lustful desire, religious commitment, social pressure. But we are not honest about any of these, so we just say we love each other. And this may indeed be true, but love is not enough to sustain a marriage. I know many divorced couples who still claim to love each other. In fact, they get along fabulously after the divorce. The why is so important because it speaks to purpose. Without understanding your individual purpose, you won't understand the marriage purpose. And just like using a lamp to hammer a nail, you will use a marriage for what it was unintended, to grow complacent as you preoccupy yourself with the routine of family, work, and the relationship challenges that come with those. It's only after you grow unsettled, despondent, unfulfilled, tired of trying to make a relationship work that you begin to look around for anything to blame outside of yourself. The marriage is an easy target because you're not using it for its intended purpose. I'm not saying that you should have your entire life together before you get married. Nobody does unless you get married past 60. But before a couple gets married, they should ponder the why. Does the groom have a vision for what impact this marriage will have on family, community, and beyond? Does he have worthy pursuits that will benefit others outside of himself? And what of the bride's pursuits? How will her gifts, talents, aspirations be expressed as a part of this vision? How will this marriage benefit the two in a way that could never be achieved apart from each other? A vision is a clear picture of purpose. Without a shared vision, a couple will eventually reclaim their independence. Too many couples mistakenly make the marriage itself their purpose. Never again will there be as much time, collaborative effort, emotional investment, and goal setting as the wedding. It's as if the wedding was the pinnacle achievement of the marriage. Marriage is meant to enable purpose, not to be a substitute for it. Can you discover your purpose after you're married? Absolutely. Now you have someone who not only can help you identify it, but to live it out practically. Furthermore, your purpose should benefit your spouse first, then your family, then the greater community at large in ways that weren't possible if it was just you alone. This is why you got married. This is why you need your spouse. Not for self-gratification, but fulfillment of purpose. Conflict, disappointment, broken promises, and frustration make marriage difficult, but it shouldn't derail its purpose. We were not meant to go through these challenges just for the sake of being married. These marital challenges that we often blame on our spouse are usually the result of what we bring into the relationship. This is when I usually hear someone say, "You don't know the abuse, emotional pain, or the lies my wife or husband has put me through." I'm not talking about who is at fault. Actions have personal consequences. I'm talking about taking responsibility for a successful outcome, regardless of who is to blame. Taking responsibility for one's own actions is a sign of maturity in an individual. Taking responsibility for another's actions so that both may benefit is a sign of maturity in the relationship. The most powerful words in the English language to resolve every relationship conflict are, "I'm sorry and you're forgiven." The actual hard part is the reconciliation that comes after those words are spoken. It could take days, weeks, or years, but married couples must be committed to the healing process. Commitment in marriage is a 3-step process. The first step is having faith that whatever it is you're struggling with is worth the price of reconciliation to achieve the purposes God has for your marriage. Second is willingness for spouses to be vulnerable with each other spiritually, physically, and emotionally. To be open in this way is the only path to achieving that biblical state of oneness. You cannot be soulmates if one of you is withholding your soul. The third step in commitment is sacrifice. We must be willing to sacrifice what holds us back from fully committing in our relationship. That could be in our finances, careers, relatives, friendships, hobbies, fears, selfish desires. Spiritually, we must burn the boats of our past lives that brought us to the shores of marriage. Marriage is a promised land that a couple inherits from God. There is a level of intimacy and enjoyment that is reserved only for marriage, but it's not without its giants to slay. Just like the Hebrews of old who grew more unified through the adversity they faced in the land of Canaan, so does a married couple find unity of purpose on the other side of struggle. But a couple won't commit to the struggle if they see no purpose in it. This is why there has to be something much greater than themselves that requires each other to achieve. I'm not talking about codependency, that's unhealthy. I am talking about interdependency, which characterizes true oneness in a marriage. The apotheosis of reflecting the true image of God as Adam did in the beginning. The world is depending on you to live out the purpose for your marriage. It's not just for your personal desires, it's not just for your spouse, it's not just for your children. It's the perfect vessel to amplify your gifts, talents, and abilities in service of others. Have no illusion that you can do it alone. We were created to be interconnected. There should be no human connection greater than to your spouse. There should be no one who knows you better. There should be no one who you trust more. And that makes for the absolute best person you can have by your side for any endeavor. Organizations wish they had the level of commitment from their team that is inherent in every successful marriage. You have this opportunity every day you wake up next to your spouse. How much longer are you going to squander your purpose with regret, bitterness, and unresolved conflict until you have decided that you would rather start over with someone else? There is a reason why second marriages statistically last shorter than the first, and the third even shorter, and so on. It's because every relationship you get into has something in common. You, our spouse, is a reflection of ourselves, equal yet opposite. Tell me about your wife or your husband and I would be learning about you. Your hopes, dreams, struggles, desires, self-worth, fears, and regrets are all wrapped up in who you chose to marry. We tend to marry someone who, on some level, we sense has traits that are necessary to fulfilling our purpose. But though we admire the traits in our spouse, we don't want to be held to the same standard. That would require growth, commitment, and a degree of change in us that is too uncomfortable. So each day, we look at our spouse, and instead of seeing a reflection of the change needed in ourselves, we see only conflict. We miss a golden opportunity for introspection staring us right in the face. In 20 years of marriage coaching, I've never heard someone say, "Help me to identify my issues that I need to work on to become the person my spouse needs me to be." Many people seeking counsel are actually seeking justification for what they already decided. The hardest thing in the world to change is someone's mind once it's made up. Your spouse is not your problem. Your marriage is the solution to fulfilling your true purpose if you understand the part you each have to play. The husband is called to be the servant leader of the home, but his leadership is only as effective as his wife's willingness to submit. The wife is called to be the helpmeet of her husband, his most trusted and valuable advisor. But her counsel is only as effective as his willingness to listen. Each must play their part if they are to derive the benefits that only come from a marriage set on its purpose. If this message resonates, subscribe, hit the bell, and join our community of couples for weekly tips to make your marriage stronger, more purpose-driven. Let us know in the comments, what do you see as the purpose for your marriage? What are your life goals besides raising kids that you can only do as a couple? Remember, love awakens when passion meets maturity.